mute that in the room? Good morning, good morning, good morning. We have people in the room. I'm not sure how to act. So before I even get started, I just want to say happy birthday to our beloved Juanita, who is here working on her birthday so that we can all play together. So I want to welcome everybody that's joining us in the room. Haven't said that in almost a year. On Facebook and on YouTube. And so I invite you right where you are, except here in the room where we're not supposed to sing, to lift your voice and join in song. You will notice at the end of the second song that there is a 30-second delay before I come back to you. That is because there's a 30-second delay from the live stream, which is how the folks in the room here are enjoying the music. And so we have to let that finish before I start talking again. So just know there's going to be a little bit of gap in today's flow. All right, here we go.
I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Walking, talking with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hate your neighbor in your mind stayed on spirit. Hate your neighbor in your mind stayed on spirit. Hate your neighbor in your mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You love everybody in your heart. Stay on spirit. You love everybody in your heart. Stay on spirit. You love everybody in your heart. Stay on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Woke up this morning in my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on spirit. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. Everywhere that I may go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere that I may go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere that I may go, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. Let that light shine on through. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine on me and shine on you. I'm gonna let it shine. Show the power of love can do. I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day, one day, every day, every day, I'm gonna let my little light shine. gave me the gift of love. Tuesday, peace came sure enough. Wednesday told me to have more faith. Thursday gave me a little more grace. Friday told me to sing and pray. Saturday told me what to say. Sunday gave me power to find to let my little light shine. Sing it with me now. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. I'm gonna let my little light shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All righty. Logistics. Whee! And now we have more people in the room. I had a moment during the music where I almost just lost it. And I still might. It is just so precious to be able to look into people's eyes. Oh my God. Wow. So again, I want to welcome everybody who's joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. My name is Reverend Rafe Ellis, and I am so friggin' proud. Yeah, friggin', that's a spiritual word. To be the senior minister here at Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. So let me take a minute to tell our guests who we are and remind us of who we are. We are a radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, supportive community that celebrates the very diversity of creation. We strive to live authentic spiritual lives through a practical application of the teachings of science of mind. We engage in sacred practices that uplift our spirit, deepen our awareness, and ignite our soul's self-expression. We demonstrate active compassion to ourselves, to one another, and the world. And we experience meaningful contribution through giving generously of our time, talents, and treasures. And we intentionally, on purpose, shamelessly promote our community and our teachings. And so one of the ways that you can do that if you're joining us virtually is to grab that link and share it on whatever social media outlet that you play on. And we will go from there. And so one of the things that we do here is an inclusion candle lighting ritual. And we do this to celebrate the unity of all people, all faiths, all beings, all life. We light the first candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the ways of foundational spirituality. We light the second candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the third candle for Taoism, honoring the path of ultimate reality, the natural way. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the middle way and path of compassion. And we light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the teachings of Jesus as the path of love, forgiveness, and healing by the presence within. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. And we light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought teachings, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles of love and law. And we light the 10th candle for absolute inclusivity, affirming that all are welcome and celebrated here. And we light this final candle, honoring the infinity of oneness as all creation, seen and unseen. Apparently I have more hot air than Deborah. I know that surprises no one. So I invite you to lift your voice again right where you are, except here in the room. And let's fill this universe with song as we join in our next community song. Here we go.
I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing peace today. I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing peace today. I choose compassion. I choose compassion today. I choose compassion today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I choose compassion today. I choose abundance. I choose abundance today. I choose abundance today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I choose today. I'm choosing heaven. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing I'm choosing heaven. I'm choosing heaven.
So this is our time of announcements, and I don't even know what my list is, but Juanita has control now, so I will announce as she tells me to. All right. The spiritual economics class has been canceled. We didn't have folks sign up, so let me know what you're interested in, and we'll have it. All right, next one. We're still doing the Tuesday through Saturday morning meditation. That is available Tuesday through Saturday from 8 to 8:30 Pacific time, and I specify Pacific time because we do have folks joining in from all over the country. That is available on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. Also available by Zoom only is the Actualizing Wholeness discussion group, and that is an amazing time. It's an amazing time where we literally throw caution to the wind, and you'll hear more about this in the talk today, of living in the question. We just engage in whatever wants to be discussed without no agenda of going anywhere with it, but simply to allow the divine to inform us of what it wants us to know. Vernal Equinox celebration, March 20th, I believe that says. Trying to read the monitor from too far away. That is a Saturday. The practitioners are hosting a virtual vernal equinox celebration and a season of prayer that we started several years ago. The technology for Zoom actually allows us to put you in a private space with a practitioner or a minister to get individual prayer, which is part of this. It'll start with a brief ceremony, and then we will let folks, and you can pray with as many practitioners and ministers who are there. So just like it was here in the room, you can go from station to station. So we put you in a breakout room with a practitioner, then you come back to the main room, and we can put you in a different breakout room with a different practitioner. And you can get just as prayed up as you can stand to get. So I don't advise driving afterwards because you might be in an altered state. Next one. I love this slide. We're open. Okay. We do have a capacity of 15 folks. And so we really need folks to sign up on the Sign Up Genius. The links to that each week are in the newsletter. Here's the other reason that we need you to use the Sign Up Genius. Because once we're open, we have a responsibility. Should there be a COVID exposure, I, as the licensed person of this center, have a legal responsibility to then do contact tracing. And so I need your information so that if you've been exposed, I can call and let you know that. We're open Wednesday and Sunday, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Wednesday here in just a minute. So the 52-week spiritual activism is canceled because we are shifting to the opening. And so on Wednesday, go to the next slide, Juanita. We're doing the Wednesday evening Ask the Rev Anything. And I have a spinning wheel that looks just like that. And if you have questions, send them in ahead of time. What we'll do is we'll fill that wheel up with questions, and then we'll spin it, and wherever it lands, that's what we'll talk about. You're welcome to come in person. That will also be available on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So we've pared down our values clarification. We finished the first step of paring it down from, I think there were 120 values on the initial list, and that has been pared down to 40. And so now the next step is available through SurveyMonkey. It's in the newsletter. Please just click on that picture that you see right there in the newsletter. It will take you to the SurveyMonkey link where I'm asking you now to select the top 10 values that you feel represent Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. And then we'll go from there. All right. So I think that's all of the announcements. Apparently, because we've run out of them. This is a good thing. I don't have to know what I'm doing when Juanita's in the room. How freeing is that? Yeah. No, we're good. Yeah. So this is our time of inward shift. And so I invite you to just let yourself go inward, to let everything else fall away. There'll be a brief 5-minute contemplative meditation. After the meditation, our practitioner this morning, Deborah Ellis, will bring us out of the meditation with our opening spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer, and then she will lead us in reading our affirmation. Here we go. Today's contemplative reading is from Asian American lecturer Phoebe Ng. Risk itself is a process of constant unfolding, and taking risks is the process of peeling back the layers of what you are and who you want to be. The day comes when remaining the same becomes more painful than the risk to grow. And when that happens, there are many goodbyes. We leave old patterns, old friends and lovers, old ideas, and some cherished beliefs. Loss and growth are so often one and the same.
Allowing your next breath to be a little bit deeper than the one before. Recognizing that this very breath is the breath of all life. It is the breath of the one, that one power, that one presence, that one source, that universal intelligence that is articulating and bubbling and expressing and moving in and through and as all of creation. It is deep and abiding peace. It is perfect love. It is joy. It is harmony. And it is moving and expressing on that eternal timeline right here and right now, in this very moment, this moment of now. And so it is that it is breathing me. It is beating my heart. It is dreaming my dreams. And I recognize that this is true for all of life, that this one power and presence is interconnecting all that is seen and all that is unseen. So it is with great joy this morning that I speak a word of blessing from this place of truth where I stand, claiming, affirming, and accepting that there is an expansion of consciousness that is happening as all of life, and that we are connected to it, and that there is a power for good in this universe, and we can use it. So good to know this truth, and so thankful for this spiritual community that we call Sierra Center for Spiritual Living. So grateful this morning that we are gathering in person for our beloved opening, and that we're here in the room together. So thankful, so grateful for all the loving hands that have gone into bringing forth this service this morning, this day, this glorious day. And thankful for our beloved Reverend Rafe, who brings the message, who leads the way, who points to the light, which we all are. We are that light. And so I simply give thanks for all of this and so much more than I could speak this morning. So grateful. And I release into that activity of love and law and simply allow, release, and let go. And we anchor this together by saying, and so it is. Well, good morning, beautiful people. And I can see people right here in the center. It's so exciting. Oh, so my name is Deborah Ellis, and I am privileged, honored to be in service to this spiritual community as a licensed practitioner here. And I am going to read our affirmation. I'm going to read it once through, and then we'll read it together. All right, here we go. My life is the embodiment of Spirit's highest idea of itself as me. Here we go. My life is the embodiment of Spirit's highest idea of itself as me, and so it is. And welcome, welcome from wherever you're tuning in from. We're so glad you're here with us. Blessed be.
It's a long way from Lakewood to the timberline, but it's a short time we have here. It's a cold winter day, blowing through the ponderosa pine, but it's a good dream I won't let to your ear. See the raven there glide and begin to circle overhead. Hear him call out to his mate there on the forest floor. cracked voice, but not great. He's offering a sign instead. He's talking to us too, and he's not saying nothing more. Fahrenheit and snow begin to fall. I'll be out here lost with no hope of relief. Bitter cold may find us, but I've a knife and a piece of flint here in my bag. Let our love remind us that in the end the worst case will be only a snag. All we need is just one spark to build a fire against the gathering dark. Set the tinder ablaze. Yeah, then we tend that fire like you raise a child. Nurture it, protect it while you let it grow wild. And stand back amazed at the natural grace. Fahrenheit and snow begin to fall. Are we out here lost with no hope of relief? The bitter cold may find us, but I've a knife and a piece of flint here in my bag. That in the end the worst case could be only a snag. All you need is just one spark to build a fire against the gathering dark. Set the tinder ablaze. Yeah, live it to that fire like you raise a child. Nurture it, protect it while you let it grow wild. Stand back amazed at the natural grace.
You got it muted. The magic of technology. Take a breath with me. So, we're continuing our annual theme of timeless wisdom. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through the intuitive and spiritual nature of each person, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And evolutionary vision. We see a world in which every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity and God and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. Now, those two statements come from our declaration of what we believe. That's the timeless wisdom. And the evolutionary consciousness comes from the Centers for Spiritual Living's organizational global vision. This month, we're looking at open to possibilities. Because if we are infinite possibility in form, it seems that it might be a divine idea in the mind of God to explore that. Just a little. This week, living in the question, a higher idea. And we'll get much more into that here in just a moment. But if we're telling the truth, don't most of us want to live in the answer? I know I do. I want answers, and I want them yesterday, please. And I would like them to match the answer I have in my head. So maybe it's just me, but I got a hunch it's not. So what does this idea of living in the question actually mean? Well, it's about visioning. And we're going to talk this morning about the difference between visioning and visualization. And we're going to start with looking at this thing called the evolution of consciousness. Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith surfaced, at least that's where I learned it. It may have come from somewhere else. It's hard to tell anymore. But this 4 levels of consciousness, 4 evolutionary stages, if you will, of consciousness. The first one may be familiar to you. To me. Life is happening to me. Now, the uncomfortable truth of that is that that is a consciousness of victimhood. that there's a God outside of me that's punishing me. All of you are a part of that. And you're participating in punishing me, and particularly my parents, and then when I became a parent, my children. Okay? Everybody's punishing. My boss is punishing me. My spouse is punishing me. Perhaps, and perhaps not. Now, I don't know about you, but there were things I did in life that required punishment. And so punishment is not always a state of victimhood. Sometimes it's just simply natural consequences playing themselves out. We do live in a world of cause and effect. Okay? We'll get to how we tie in that to these levels of consciousness in just a minute. But just know that we all start in to me. We all start there. So there's no reason to make yourselves bad or wrong or guilt or shame. It's just where we start. And hopefully we don't spend a lifetime there. The next level of consciousness is, I'm just going to say it, sadly, where most people in New Thought build condos and stay. And it is the consciousness of by me. That everything that's happening in my life, I, the human I, the egoic I, am doing all of it. I am the all-powerful me. And it is a place of separation. It is a consciousness that doesn't get that we are one. It's still living in separation, and it's living squarely in the power of the ego. That I don't have to be concerned about you, I got mine. It's also a place where a lot of spiritual guilt and shame gets built. Where that phrase that I trust none of you ever use from a place of guilt and shame with one another. It's that, well, what's in your consciousness? There's only one consciousness, and so if you feel compelled to ask someone else that question, ask yourself that question first. What's in your consciousness that thinks you have the right to blame someone else's consciousness that you share with them, because there's only one? Stephanie's like, wait, where did he go with that? Yeah, okay? There's only one consciousness. We're all sharing it. Now, the beautiful part of the by me phase, it's where we develop our spiritual muscles. It's where we develop faith. It's that place of experimentation where we begin to prove these principles, where we hold something in thought and we follow that, and lo and behold, it actually shows up, right? It's that place of parking spaces. Where we hold in consciousness that we're going to get the perfect parking space, and we do. Now, I submit to you that there are greater things in life to achieve than parking spaces. Now, if you want to limit yourself to that, there's certainly nothing I can do to stop you. But I want to invite you to go bigger, This is the land of visualization. And visualization is very different than visioning. And I want you to make sure you get that this morning. Visualization is always a replication, a duplication of some past event or circumstance. It's never anything new, because we visualize from the brain. The brain is a repository of past experience. And so even if you combine past parts to build something that looks new, it's still the past. And so you're holding a picture in your mind of the past. And typically, it's somebody else's past that you want to achieve. It's somebody else's bank account that you want to get to. Right? That's visualization. Visioning is a whole completely different process. Visioning actually requires that we let go of visualization, that we let go of all the sacred cows that our ego imagines that we want. Then we're entering the level of conscious evolution of through me. That we've at least evolved to a place where we understand that God, Spirit, Creator, whatever we call it, is operating through us. Right? That the ego me isn't doing it. The ego me is participating. The ego me is following direction, the divine direction from within. And this is where we begin to live in the question, what is Spirit's highest idea of itself as my life? Notice, of itself as my life. Oftentimes when we think of visioning, what is Spirit's highest idea of my life? Well, my life is Spirit's life. Ernest Holmes, the quote that we often misquote, there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. That is not what Ernest Holmes said. Ernest Holmes said there is one life. That life is God. God is my life now. That's what Ernest Holmes actually said. There is no such thing as God's life and your life. There's just life. Life is God. And so this is where we begin to move into that fourth level of consciousness where the mystics live. God as me. Now, I tell this story, and she knows I tell this story, mostly because it's hysterical. And it evidences the very human journey of wrapping ourselves around this idea that we are literally God in form. And so I was new. Had I licensed yet as a practitioner, Deb? No, I was deep in the study. And you have to understand, when you are deep in spiritual study and you're really excited about it, you're annoying as all get out to other people. She used to run from me when I was in ministerial school. I'd come out of my office with that, "Oh my God," look, and she's like, "Oh no." And she would run, literally. But she was struggling one day, and in my zealous, I'm going to be a practitioner, I looked at her and went, "Baby, you get your God in form, right?" And without hesitation, she's like, "Get your stupid." Because when we're in that space of struggle, is not the time for someone to remind us that we're God in form. When we're not feeling anything godlike, doesn't change that it's true that we are God in form. But it takes a while. Our brain is literally hardwired to reject that thought. Okay? Because our brain is hardwired for the ego, and the ego is hardwired for survival. And the idea that we are God in form to the ego means death. So there's always going to be this push me, pull me thing happening. Just know that so you can navigate it. You'll never hear me in the kill your ego camp, because that is paramount to suicide, and I kind of like having you around. So why would we do that? But we do need to learn to dance with our ego, and that our spiritual partner leads and the ego learns to follow. And that is the space of to me, of as me, where visioning is that place where we've let go of everything we think we're supposed to be and listen deeply to who we are. Not who we're supposed to be. See, there's a clue right there. If you're hearing, who am I supposed to be? That's visualization, because it can only come from a frame of reference from the past. That's where we're supposed to. The whole shouldapedia is based in the past. And so we begin to ask, what is God's highest idea of itself as me? And then you listen. And you look. And it will come in weird ways that typically don't make sense. But if we'll lean into that and say, okay, have no idea where this is going, but I'll go. The best story I have of that is a colleague that was sitting at home in her office trying to figure out how to keep the center alive because it was failing financially. And she got, she's in prayer, she's in meditation, she's visioning, go to Safeway. God, I'm busy here. Go to Safeway. And so the third time it came, she just, fine, I don't need anything, but I'll go to Safeway. She went to Safeway. She's like, fine, I'm here, now what? Get something and get in line. What? Doesn't matter, just get in line. Okay? And she followed it with some immediacy. Turns out, she gets in line, woman comes in behind her, strikes up a conversation, who are you, blah, blah, blah. And she just told her, I'm a minister, and I don't even know why I'm here. I got this divine nudge to just show up to get in line. I guess I'm supposed to talk to you. The woman wrote her a check for her center for $10,000, standing in the line of Safeway. How many opportunities do we miss because we're busy making God as us not make sense? Perhaps because it's new, there's no frame of reference for it to make sense. Perhaps. And so, questions for you to play with this week. Are you open to something new? Get honest with yourself. Are you even open to a newness beyond what you can conceive of? Because, folks, newness means beyond your conception. If you can already conceive of it, it ain't new. Right? It's a repeat. Are you willing to be surprised? Or do you want a very predictable life? Neither's right, neither's wrong. But get real with yourself about what you want. Are you willing to be courageously engaged in spiritual growth, even if it blows up your comfort zone? Even if it brings ideas that scare the bejeebers out of you? Are you willing to be open to growth, or are you more content to advocate and argue for your limitations? You get to pick. Neither's right, neither's wrong. What created us gave us complete free will to pick. But what do you want? As we wrap up, I don't know if you're familiar with Wayne Teasdale. He wrote The Mystic Heart. And he writes, spirituality serves as our greatest single resource for changing our centuries-old trajectory of violence and division. Spirituality is profoundly transformative when it inspires us, in us, the attitude of surrender to the mystery. That's a big thing. It's a big thing. To live a life of non-resistance. Okay? And the visual, this is resistance. Okay? This is non-resistance. To open. Even this, that's resistance. What are we protecting ourselves from? A good greater than we can conceive? This. Open. Whatever comes, whatever changes. Because being open to the idea doesn't mean you have to choose it. Right? The idea might come for you to do something that is so outrageous that you go, nah, thanks, but no thanks. Okay. It will show up somewhere else because that idea is an idea in the mind of God that is going to be expressed. How many people do you think thought about duct tape before somebody invented it? Right? How many of us had the idea of Velcro and it was one person that went, oh, heck yeah, I'll do that. And we all sit around going, man, I wish I'd have invented Velcro. But how many things do we turn down? It's okay because it will be expressed somewhere. If it comes to you, you have the first option. Just like buying a house, you have first option. Doesn't mean you have to buy it. You get to pick. But are you open to even considering them? Are you open to living in the question, what is God's highest idea of itself as my life? Let's take this into prayer. And so knowing there is only one infinite, ever-present allness, I know that I must be in its company, everywhere present. one love, one life, one breath, one infinite intelligence, one abundance, one field of infinite possibility, expressing itself in form, in experience. And I know that I am that. That there is one life. That life is God, and God is my life now. Always has been. And what is true of me is true of all life. And so I lift my voice this morning, speaking my word, claiming and affirming a realization, a making real in experience, the awakening of divinity within every expression of creation. An experience of unlimited potential. A divine knowing of what God's idea of itself is, individualized in each expression of its creation. Grateful to know that the information is always there as we open to hearing. Grateful for the innate, inextricable ability to hear simply by stopping all the noise that prevents our hearing. Grateful, grateful, grateful. And so from this place of gratitude, from this place of excitement, I let go, knowing that the word spoken is the word of the infinite as me and cannot return void. That it is made manifest by the activity, by the law of the one that spoke it. So I let go, and I step fully into the mystery unfolding before me as this thing called life. And I invite you to join me by anchoring this word as your own as we say together, Amen, Amin, Shalom, Aho, Ashe. And so it is. I cannot tell you how sweet that is to hear human voices respond in the same room. Oh my God. Whew. Never underestimate the power of your physical presence. So let's take a breath as we shift into our time of conscious giving. And so for the folks here in the room, let me move myself so I'm on camera there. Thank God for that little screen in the back that lets me know where I'm at. For the folks in the room, there's a basket over by the door. We're not going to be passing a basket because we're not going to pass anything to each other that we don't want. And we don't know what that is yet. So, all right, there on the screen, you can see the affirmation. Let me put that up here in the room. Maybe. There we go. So you folks that are live streaming get to see me twice. I'm sorry. All right, let's read our affirmation together. I give this gift with love and joy. From a consciousness of abundance, divine love blesses and prospers all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. So just a couple of reminders. We are live here on Wednesdays for the Ask the Rev Anything. We'll fill up the wheel, we'll spin it. Maybe I'll know an answer, maybe I won't. Maybe we'll play with the idea together. But it'll be time together. We will also live stream that on Facebook and YouTube. If you're not getting the newsletter, please do reach out, Rafe at sierracenter.org, so I can get you on that list. If you would like to celebrate us and help us be sustained, You can give online at our website, www.sierracenter.org, and we will be blessed to receive your gift. And so now we're going to close out with our closing song, Let's Work Together, and I will see you on Zoom afterwards. Here we go. List.
1, 2, 3, 4.